What are some of the most pivotal games early in the 2025 college football season? That's what we're talking about today. I've picked out a handful of games early in the season that I think are going to be some of the most pivotal games this year, whether that be coaching hot seat, playoff implications, conference championship implications, just the pageantry and the classic nature of the matchup. All of those things I'm kind of tying into this. This isn't a ranking by any means. This is more or less just me picking games that I think have a lot at stake for a multitude of those reasons I just listed. And they're just going to be pure entertainment. And I think what better way to prepare ourselves for the season than just to kind of dive in and talk about them. So let's go ahead. Let's start with week 0. I feel like a lot of people aren't talking about this game. And specifically, I'm talking about K-State taking on Iowa State. We got a Big 12 matchup in a neutral site. Okay, this game is in Dublin, Ireland. It's a week 0 game, so this is literally what we start the season with. Like, all eyes will be on this game. We're itching for it. We get an amazing matchup that I feel like just isn't getting talked about a lot. I mean, you got Matt Campbell, okay, and Iowa State that made it to the Big 12 championship last year. It felt like that was the season. They fall short. Kansas State, Avery Johnson, it's almost a similar situation. You know, the expectations are Big 12 championship. Iowa State beats them late in the year. K-State misses out on it. Not a bad season by any stretch, but of course not the expectations they had, coming off winning a Big 12 championship recently. And there's so much to this game that just makes it that good. There's such good talent on both sides of the ball. I mean, really, the reason I have this on here is not only is it week 0, I think it just deserves a spotlight, but it truly is a massive Big 12 championship implication game. Like, these are two teams that both have expectations of being there at the end of the year. You think about, these are two teams that are usually towards the top of the odds market to win the Big 12 as well, that are taking each other on the very first game of the year. All eyes on this one. That's going to be a huge game. I'm really excited for that one. Let's move to week 1. All right, week 1. This one we've beaten a lot, right? We know what the biggest games of week 1 are. Let's start with the most obvious of them all, being Texas and Ohio State. Arch Manning, more than likely Julian Sayin, Ryan Day, Steve Sarkisian. Texas travels to the Shoe. It's going to be a noon kickoff, big noon kickoff. Joel Klatt, Gus Johnson on that call. Not sure how I feel. I know I would love to see some of those be night games, one of these times. I know the SEC is taking that now with ESPN and ABC, but I digress. Either way, this game is massive. We have 2 quarterbacks that we don't know a lot about, 2 head coaches that I feel like we really know everything about. I wonder, okay, and looks like we got a monsoon coming, so of course my monsoon sound thing is interrupting our video. I apologize on that, but we're just going to keep chugging because we don't do edits, we don't do cuts, we just keep rolling. I don't even know if you could hear it. But nonetheless, Steve Sarkisian, Ryan Day. Ryan Day, I feel like he's finally got that monkey off his back. It feels like Ohio State's playing with house money. Now, he has not beat Michigan in a little while, so of course that's still lingering, but that's way down the line. We get an amazing week 1 game where it feels like Ohio State gets to play with house money here in front of their home crowd against an amazing brand like Texas. SEC versus Big 10, playoff implications scattered all throughout this game, you guys. And really just, how do you start the season off on the right foot? That one's going to be a battle. Same with week 1, and we've talked about this game on my channel, one of my more recent videos, Baylor and Auburn. Okay, the reason I put this one on here is it's not that these 2 teams have, necessarily national championship expectations, but these are 2 coaches that are absolutely on the hot seat right now. These are 2 coaches that need to have a good year, and what better way to have a good year than to come out and win a matchup game week 1 right off the bat, start on a good note. What that does for the mental psyche, all of those things, I think this is a massive game that I am extremely excited to watch. It's also a Friday night game, so you don't have to feel as guilty watching this one as opposed to Clemson and LSU or Texas and Ohio State. So let's talk about LSU at Clemson. LSU travels to Death Valley, South Carolina to take on the Tigers. This one's another big one. Dabo Swinney, Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly is 0-3 in season openers with LSU. Clemson's trying to get back to the top of the mountain. They've fallen down the cliff a little bit. This one has all the markings of an instant classic. Garrett Nussmeier versus Cade Klubnik. 2 experienced teams with a lot of returning starters on either side of the ball. LSU, then you factor in the number 1 transfer portal class. They bring in loads of talent. This LSU team is going to be extremely good. Can they get past the week one heebie-jeebies is going to be the biggest question in a really, really tough environment. That's going to be an amazing game. Lastly, for week one, Notre Dame at Miami. Woo-wee. This one's a fun one, you guys. Notre Dame coming off a national championship runner-up season. Okay, I know we don't do trophies for second place. Notre Dame is not happy with it, but they should absolutely be proud of it. Miami, on the other hand, is coming off a good year that just felt like it's almost all for nothing, right? I mean, I can guarantee you Miami was not sitting with 10 wins thinking a Pop-Tarts Bowl was going to be the peak of their season, especially when you think of the year that Cam Ward had. So now Carson Beck comes in. How does Miami right the ship? How do they just get past that? You know, there's a lot of room left for them to still achieve. Does Carson Beck bring enough for that? And especially against a really good Notre Dame team that's now going to have more weapons at wide receiver. They're going to have good experience. New quarterback going on at Notre Dame. So that offense, we'll see. It could be questionable, but a very tough defense that Miami's going to face week one. Carson Beck, again, he's coming from an injury. So that one has a lot of appeal to it. I want to say that's a Sunday night game. So again, you won't have to feel guilty watching that one. Let's move to week two. Okay. Week two, we have really not a huge slate, but I got two games for us, and we'll go through these kind of quick. Michigan at Oklahoma. I'm sure we've heard about this one. This is probably the biggest game of week two. We get the Big Ten going on the road to take on the SEC. These are two polar opposite situations here. You had Oklahoma that feels like they're kind of on the decline, but yet they go get John Mateer. They've added talent. They lose two key pieces on offense, Nick Anderson and Bauer Sharp. That definitely hurts them, but they bring in John Mateer. I think that offense is going to be a lot better. They bring in Arbuckle as well, his offensive coordinator from Washington State. So Oklahoma has made the necessary changes to field a good offense, which is needed. You think about Michigan. Sharon Moore will be coaching this game. The suspension is not until later in the year. I want to say the week after this game, ironically. I don't blame him one bit. I'm not sure how that's allowed, but nonetheless, you think of all the changes Oklahoma made on the offensive side of the ball. Michigan is one of the best defensive teams in the country last year. They're going to be one of the best this year. Wink Martindale has got that defense figured out. They bring back some talent. They add some talent. That defensive line is going to continue to be a problem for teams. Think about the confidence and the momentum that Michigan's coming in with. The biggest question will be quarterback for Michigan. This was a team that couldn't throw the football more than 10 yards down the field last year. Is Bryce Underwood the answer? There is so much to watch for in this game, especially pressure on Brent Venables. This is his first chance to get a statement win in this season. It would be a great start to the year for Oklahoma if they can win it. Alrighty, last game I have for week two. This one's not going to get talked about a lot, but to me, this has a lot of implications. Iowa State. Iowa goes on the road. They travel to Ames to take on the Cyclones in week two of the year. Now remember, friends, Iowa State plays week 0 against Kansas State. The reason I have this on here is because for Iowa, they want to be better, right? They want to be competing in the Big Ten. They want to have a chance at competing in the Big Ten. This is a game they have to win. Last year, they lost this game at home in unbelievable fashion. I think it was, like a 54-yard field goal that Iowa State hit. Not only is this a great rivalry, but Iowa State could very well come into this game 1-1 and not afford to lose a second game 3 games into the year. If Iowa State were to start the year 1-2, I would be baffled. And so would that fan base, and that would not be good for Matt Campbell. Iowa and Kirk Ferentz, on the other hand, need this win. They need it badly. If they want to have a better year, if they want to continue to keep up in the Big Ten and not get passed by teams like Indiana and Illinois, they need this one. There's going to be a lot to watch in that game. Alrighty, you guys, let's move to week 3. Florida at LSU. Huge game. This is Florida's first true statement game. Again, LSU, similar situation, okay? If LSU beats Clemson and comes into this game, that home environment will be raucous. Either way around, it will be. But you think of the confidence LSU will have coming into this game 2-0. If that's the case, they won't lose week 2, but they will have a tester in week 1, of course. Florida will more than likely, unless chaos erupts, come into this game at 2-0. So this one is going to be huge for the SEC implications. These are two teams that won't be predicted to win the conference, but if they want to even have a chance, they have to win this game. Whoever loses this game, it's not going to be pretty. And Florida has a gauntlet of a schedule after. LSU's is not much easier right behind them. Alrighty, let's move to Clemson and Georgia Tech. Okay, I put this on here to show some love to the ACC because this is the really premier game in the ACC, in my honest opinion. I think that There's so much ACC championship implications that ride on this football game. If Clemson comes in 2-0 and Georgia Tech beats Colorado in week one, and comes in 2-0, this game will have all the makings of a possible future, ACC championship feel to it. Like, this is massive. You have Georgia Tech trying to really turn that corner. They've come so close. They've grown. They've gotten better. Haynes King is back. Okay, Clemson, on the other hand, they're going on the road in Atlanta. Going to be an incredible environment. Going to be an amazing game to watch. A lot on the line in the ACC. Alrighty, last game for week 3. Texas A&M at Notre Dame. Really don't have to say a lot about this one, okay? The Aggies traveled to South Bend this year. Last year, it was an amazing week 1 game at Kyle Field. Amazing environment. Notre Dame went in there and won that game. Crazy enough. Now, funny stat when we speak about Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman has lost, 3 or 4 games in September with Notre Dame. He lost to Northern Illinois. They lost to Ohio State one year. They lost to Marshall one year. I want to say it's 3. He's lost 3 games in the month of September in the last 3 seasons. So they definitely don't want to do that this year. And when you think about the rest of Notre Dame's schedule after this game, it's completely manageable. A couple tests here and there, but this is going to be their big game. If they come into this game with a win against Miami, that environment will be great. The momentum will be great. But there's so much pressure on this game for Notre Dame. If they lose to Miami, this is a must-win football game. For Texas A&M, I think it's not as much pressure, but going on the road against a team that beat you last year, that's enough for me to want to watch it. Alrighty, last week, I'm going to consider week 4 early in the year, and that's what we're going to do right now is week 4. It's the first third of the season, mathematically speaking, so let's go ahead. This week 4 is loaded. I'm going to try to fly through it because I know we're already running deep here. Florida at Miami, big game. Again, Miami's already had to play Notre Dame early in the season. They then have to play the Gators coming off a game against LSU. So, who knows where these teams are going to be at, what records are going to be at. It's going to be it's a must win. Like, they could come in undefeated. They could both come in with a loss already. Neither of these teams want to lose. It's a rivalry. It's got a lot of recruiting implications on this game. I'm excited for that one in week 4. Next, South Carolina at Missouri. Again, not one that a lot of people are going to talk about, but here's the thing. When you look at the top 5 or 6 teams in the SEC, these are the teams that are sitting right around that 4, 5, 6, 7 range, okay? Missouri has an extremely favorable schedule. If Missouri wants to sneak their way into Atlanta or sneak their way into a playoff spot, this is a must-win game. They have to beat South Carolina. On the other hand, the Gamecocks are in a very similar situation. They have a tougher schedule than Missouri, but that's the thing. To think that they have a tougher schedule after this makes this game a must-win. This is a big game in the SEC when you think about if someone in the middle of the pack can possibly sneak their way into the playoff that's not an extremely obvious team that we all expect to be there, right? Next up, I have Auburn at Oklahoma. Same situation, same conference in the SEC. 2 teams and 2 coaches on this one that really need to win this game. This is going to be not the first test for either of these teams. Like we said, Auburn plays Baylor in week 1. Oklahoma plays Michigan in week 2. So again, there could be a world on these coaches' shoulders where this game is like, hey, whoever wins this saves their job a little bit longer than the guy who loses it. And especially being in the SEC, you got to think after this game, how much tougher does the schedule get, okay? A lot of pressure on that one. Let's go to the Big Ten. Illinois and Indiana play in week 4. I love this football game. I love it because, again, when we talk about kind of those 4, 5, 6 range teams, kind of in that middle, like toying with making the playoffs, these are 2 teams that have made leaps and bounds in the Big Ten. Indiana was that middle of the pack, sneak into the playoff team last year. Incredible season. Illinois won 10 games. This feels like the battle for who's going to be that team this year. They take each other on in week 4. Okay, who's further along, who's better, who's improving and competing at a tougher, higher level in the Big Ten. I think that's awesome. That one is at Indiana, so Illinois will go on the road to play the Hoosiers. Big 12. Let's talk about the Big 12, baby. ASU at Baylor week 4. Huge game, okay? If Baylor beats Auburn week 1, they should come into week 4, undefeated. ASU, if they beat Mississippi State, who they play early in the year, which I believe they should, this could be a massive Big 12 implication game. Obviously, we know all about Arizona State. We know what Kenny Dillingham's done. I mean, this is a team that nearly beat Texas in the playoff last year. They came extremely close. They were a very good football team. They bring a lot back. Obviously, Scadaboo leaving hurts, but Sam Levitt and Jordan Tyson are going to be electric on that offensive side of the ball. The defense returns a lot. I think Marcus Arroyo is one of the best offensive coordinators in the country, and I think Kenny Dillingham's a great coach. Dave Aranda's starting to get it turned around. I think him and Matt Polage on the defensive side of the ball are going to be a lot more locked in come this point in time of the year. It's going to be a great game, a lot weighing on the Big 12 in that one. Let's stay in the Big 12, Texas Tech at Utah. Okay, these are two teams that last year at the beginning of the year we thought, hey, this could very well be a Big 12 championship matchup. That did not happen. This year we're saying the same thing. Is it going to be? You got to think Kyle Whittingham, this might be his last year. He's not going out sorry, okay? And Texas Tech coming in with the number 2 portal class and the amount of money and talent this team has, I can't imagine them wanting anything less than to beat Utah and ultimately win the Big 12, okay? So we're going to get a really good picture on those 2 games I just mentioned right there of the Big 12, a lot weighing on that one. I'm excited. Last but not least, Michigan at Nebraska. Huge Big 10 game here, okay? Nebraska, it's year 3 under Matt Rule. The pressure is only building more and more and more, okay? Year 3 Matt Rule, year 2 Dylan Raiola, Dana Holgerson at offensive coordinator. The defense has always been consistently good, and they will still be. A lot of returning talent, a great offensive line. Michigan, on the other hand, is Bryce Underwood finally flourishing at this point in the season? They're going to Nebraska. It's going to be an incredible environment in Lincoln. Does Michigan come in undefeated? Do they come in after losing to Oklahoma a couple weeks prior? This is a huge Big 10 game for 2 teams that really want to take a step forward and have a better year. They got to win. They got to beat each other in this game. That's all I got, you guys. Okay, those to me are some of the most pivotal games for the multitude of reasons we listed early in the season. If you guys made it this far, man, I really, really appreciate that. I know we went pretty long. It's a lot of football games here, man. And look, I'm so excited for this season. So I'll stop rambling. If you guys like the video and the content, please like, comment, subscribe. If I missed any games that you are excited to watch, please comment them below. And I really appreciate all you guys' support. I want to continue to grow, get better, and just keep doing this. I love it, and I love you guys. So thank you.